This video is to introduce players to Glad stance for PvP in patch 6.2. Topics covered will be the basics such as stats, talents, glyphs, and rotation priority, and a quick summary of what I think about Glad stance. Gladiator is a DPS subspec of prot, very different playstyle of DPS compared to Fury and Arms, so let's begin. In order from top to bottom, let's begin with strength and bonus armor. These will both increase your damage dealt, and bonus armor helps in reducing the damage you receive, so the more the better. Crit, it's okay to aim for about 15 to 20% in order to get the most damage possible. When playing with certain comps, you can get up to about 25% crit, which is more than enough. Followed by mastery and versatility. These two stats can bounce between depending on user preference. I myself aim for more mastery, but at times I do try to stock up on a lot of versatility. Both of these stats will increase the damage dealt and also help decrease damage received. Haste and multi-strike, these are two stats that are lower priority for me. I don't seek them out, but having some is better than having none, meaning they don't hurt to have, but there are better choices when it comes to stat stacking. So let's cover some talents. I went ahead and highlighted those talents that are preferred choices because they provide the most utility to the fight, and then you have what is considered alternate choices, meaning they are equally as good but depend on user preference. If you want to use these talents, that's perfectly fine, but the options in red are what are commonly preferred. And then you have the options that are in green, which are what you avoid or not available. Juggernaut and Double Time, these two provide the most mobility. Some do use Wordbring for the extra stun as an interrupt, but it also has a 20-second cooldown, so that's something to keep in mind. When it comes to the second tier, Enrage Regeneration is a choice, hands down. The other two options just don't stack up when compared to this when it comes to self-healing. In the third tier, we have Heavy Repercussions or Sudden Death. Both great abilities, I've used them both and I've enjoyed them. I usually stick with Heavy Repercussions due to the amount of shield slams that I use, and the damage adds up when combined with shield charge. Sudden Death is also a hard-hitting ability free to use, just watch for procs. The two abilities can be used depending on your playstyle, and they both deal great damage, so either going with one or the other is perfectly fine. As for Unyielding Strikes, it is an option too for some, but it requires more attention compared to the other two options you have. In the fourth tier, we have our stuns, which you see I've marked as Stormbolt and Shockwave as the two choices which you are going to use for your stuns. I switch between these depending on the situation, and every now and then if I'm running with a stun heavy partner, it's okay to use Dragon Roar to prevent stun DRs and still be able to do some damage. Also, Dragon Roar can be used as an interrupt as well, but mostly you'll want to use Stormbolt and Shockwave due to the utility that they bring to the table. When it comes to level 75 talents, all these are perfectly fine depending on the situation, meaning you will have to switch it up. For example, if you have a healer, you can go with Safeguard or Vigilance. If you're 2 DPS or against certain magic casting classes, you can go with Mass Spell Reflect. Just remember that this tier is all about bringing utility to counter your enemy and assist your teammates, so it will switch up depending on the comp you go against. As for tier 6, Avatar can be a good solid choice, but also know that both Bloodbath and Bladestorm are also preferred and alternate choices to some players. Again, situational, I myself enjoy the bonus damage and brute break that Avatar provides, but some players do prefer the bleeds or the anti-CC that Bladestorm can give. As for the level 100 talent, if you are Gladiator stand, that is the only option you get, so the other two options are actually not applicable for this. Just remember, this is for Glad stance and not just prot, so we are focusing strictly on Gladiator Resolve. Let's briefly look over glyphs. Depending on what you're up against, this will change, but normally I do run with the Pummel, Heroic Strike, and Heroic Leap for extra mobility, but you can mix it up and switch it out with maybe Shield Wall for extra defense, or a longer charge, Blitz, or maybe other major glyphs that you prefer. But for the most part, the three that I use are all around, both for utility, damage, and mobility, so go with whatever fits your playstyle and helps your teammates. Now let's move on to rotation priority. This can vary from player to player, meaning not everyone will play the same, react the same, or follow the same routine, especially in PvP where any battle can change at any moment. But let's go ahead and just cover some of the basics that I do. For openers, I do Heroic Throw and put them into battle, followed by a charge, enter Shield Slam, Revenge, Devastate, and then Heroic Strike or Thunderclap to slow them cooldown. And now remember, to prevent yourself from getting rage cap, you can go ahead and use heroic strike. Just be sure to keep yourself above the 20 to 30 rage mark so that you can shield charge or shield barrier when needed. When doing burst or high damage, the best you can do as Gladiator is to pop trinkets and cooldowns like Avatar. Shield charge is always the greatest thing for you to use because shield slam is your main ability. After that, revenge, heroic strikes, and then make sure that you always have shield charge up and going if needed, and then shield slam as much as you possibly can, followed by revenge. If there's a time that you need filler abilities, Devastate is a great tool to use. It does decent damage and it also provides you a chance to reset the shield slam ability. Be sure to utilize shield slam during your 7-second window of shield charge, especially if your roll have repercussions. If you have sudden death, use execute whenever possible. So let's go ahead and take a look at a video of what these would look like in action. Playing Glad is much more difficult compared to Arms of Fury. It has many procs to watch and to keep track of in order to maximize damage. It is less RNG, but that does mean it is less damage in burst. Glad is about consistent pressure damage and good mobility with decent defensive abilities. It may not be viable for high level PvP arenas because of the lack of damage output and utility. Without a dispel or healing debuff, it makes it very hard to kill certain classes. A few things Glad has that can be good are bleeds, AoE slows, and a fear, but most importantly mobility, with up to 4 charges if played right. Playing Glad is tough, so if you do plan to push rating, prepare for a very tough time due to the handicap it brings compared to other classes. Glad can be very fun to use in casual arenas or battlegrounds, but if you enjoy the playstyle and want to try competitive arena, go for it and just practice non-stop to perfect your playstyle. Again, thanks for watching.